I'm going to reread this book a lot. This is going to be great. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I am Emily, and this is the start of a reading vlog / wrap-up. I know, I'm shocked too. I read some things. Who knew? Since it is October and spooky season, I decided that for the first time, I am going to actually pick up some horror novels. Because I'm smart. Horror and me do not get along well. I don't like reading horror, really. I've only ever read some horror short stories. Didn't like most of them. I have never sat through horror movies. Well, I shouldn't say that. I sat through one Silent Hill movie because it came on TV, and that movie scarred me for life. I am a wimp. But one of my New Year's resolutions for 2020, which I completely forgot about apparently, was to try to branch out in my reading tastes and read genres I don't normally read. Basically something other than just adventure, fantasy, and science fiction. So since it was October, and since I was like, hey, I should make a spooky related video, here I am being stupid. After doing a minor bit of research on what is popular right now, and also taking advice from Kat over at Paperback Dreams because she almost exclusively reads thrillers and horror, I came up with 3 books that sounded interesting to me. The first one is I'm Thinking of Ending Things by Ian Reid. Yes, this is a Netflix movie. Yes, I watched the trailer to the Netflix movie after I read I'm Thinking of Ending Things, and yikes! The second book is a novella that's only 95 pages, so that sounds good to me, which is Sour Candy by, I'm so sorry if I'm pronouncing your name incorrectly, Keelan Patrick Burke. I heard about this novella over several different blog posts when I was trying to find good horror books, so we're gonna give that a try. Apparently it's got creepy kids, and when I read the excerpt on Amazon, it was interesting. So, I think that is the most objectively horror-ish thing of all these 3 books, so we'll see. The third book is In the House in the Dark of the Woods by, again, I'm so sorry, Liard Hunt. In the House in the Dark of the Woods looked very, very interesting to me. When I was perusing Goodreads, a lot of people described this as really weird, dark, Grimm's fairy tale type fantasy, and I was like, that sounds like the most me thing out of all the horror I could possibly get. Dark Grimm's fairy tale fantasy. I want to read that. I will not be reviewing these books in the order that I read them, probably. I'm going to try to review them in the order of how they blew my mind or creeped me out. So, we're gonna end with the one that messed me up the most. Sounds like a great plan. Let's get into these horror books. Go. Sour Candy. I was correct in that this is probably the most objectively horror thing on the list. At least it's what I think of when I think of horror movies. Sour Candy is a very short novella about a man who goes to the store, sees a creepy kid and his mother. The creepy kid offers him a piece of candy, and his life goes to hell from there. It's difficult to talk about books this short without spoilers, so that's really all I can say, other than there was some creepy kid stuff, obviously, some weird possession type stuff going on, and that I thought it was hilarious that the main character sort of immediately accepted the fact that something really freaky is going on. Because it feels like a lot of people in horror movies are stupid, but this character was like, I know I'm in a horror book right now, and something is happening, something is wrong, but there's nothing I can do about it, but I accept it fully. So that was refreshing. Ultimately, it was a very solid, short little read that I enjoyed. It didn't scare me at all. It didn't creep me out at all, and I wasn't super surprised by the ending. It was just a fun little read, and I gave it 3.5 stars. In the House in the Dark of the Woods. The description for this book says something along the lines of, once upon a time there was and wasn't a woman who went into the woods. And that is a very accurate description. I don't know what I just read. I finished this book late last night, and I feel like my brain just still hasn't processed it the next morning. In the House of the Dark of the Woods which is a lovely title by the way, that I love to say, is a story about a woman whose name we never learn, who gets lost in the woods and is met by a woman who helps her out and leads her to a house in the woods where another woman lives. And she stays there for a while because she hurt herself when she got lost in the forest, and things get freaky from there. Like I mentioned, this has been described as like a dark Grimm's fairy tale type thing, and that was accurate. It was uncomfortably accurate. I find it really amusing, actually, because I was on Goodreads looking at the reviews for this book before I read it, and someone described the book as the first 50% you don't know what the F is going on. The second half of it, you sort of know what the F is going on. Sort of, a little bit. And that it's just too weird to comprehend. And for me, it was the exact opposite. For the first half of this book, I was like, this is not that bad. This is not horror, this is not that creepy. It's definitely weird, but I was in the short story, science fiction, fantasy community for a long time. I have read some weird stuff. So the first 50%, I was like, this is fine. I'm not creeped out. It's weird, but it's a good type of weird. And then I hit about 50 or 60% on the ebook, and I just went, what the hell am I reading? I'm still not entirely sure what happened, and there was some imagery at the end that, like, it didn't scare me. None of these books scared me, really, but it was unsettling. I don't even know how to describe this book. It's so weird. I can barely comprehend what I read, let alone actually make words describing the book. One thing I would really like to praise about this book is the writing. The writing is amazing. Before I actually got to the parts of this book that creeped me out, I was really enjoying it because it reminded me a lot of my fantasy novel that I'm working on right now, and that I want to try to go for the same atmosphere of like the first couple chapters of the book, which was lyrical and really immersive and pretty and like a fairy tale kind of dreamy type thing. So I was really enjoying this. I'm like, this is like my book. I'm going to reread this book a lot. This is going to be great. It's still great, but I'm uncomfortable. I genuinely do not know how to rate this book. I'm looking at the Goodreads page and I'm going, I don't know what to say, because giving it any less than a 4-star seems a disservice, because the book was very solid and it was very well written and the characters were very well done and I enjoyed reading it a lot. But giving it 4 stars feels like I loved it, and I don't know if I loved it. I don't know how I feel about it. I'm disturbed and slightly confused, and there's this image, one image from the end of the book that is just stuck in my head, and it's there, and it's creepy. It's not scary, it's just, it's worse. It's vastly unsettling. I'll probably give it 4 stars. It was a great book. I'm just, ew. Okay, on to I'm Thinking of Ending Things, which I have also not coherent thoughts about. Go. I'm Thinking of Ending Things by Ian Reid. So when I picked this book up, I thought it was horror, but it actually, I'm pretty sure, is a thriller. Thriller, horror, I don't know. It freaked me out. So if it freaked me out, I'm going to count it as horror. Also, look how tiny this book is. I had no idea. It was only like 200 pages long. I'm Thinking of Ending Things is so weird. I'm Thinking of Ending Things is about a guy named Jake and his girlfriend. They are taking a car trip out to the country because Jake is going to take his girlfriend to meet his parents for the first time, and they're going to have dinner. It is told from the girlfriend's point of view. She makes a point to say she is very attracted to Jake. They have a great relationship. They're both very smart, and he's a genius, and she feels very attracted to him, and there's a lot of intellectual conversation going on, and despite all that, she is thinking of ending things between the two of them. Title. So Jake and his girlfriend have a long car ride where they have a very intellectual conversation about many things in life, which I thought was very interesting. They get to his parents' house, and crap just gets weird from there. I mean, it was weird to begin with, but I normally don't have moments in books where I'm just, like, thinking things really loudly to myself. I don't know if that makes sense, but there was a point about halfway through this book where I was sitting outside reading this, which was probably a smart idea because I wouldn't have wanted to read this at night. I was sitting outside reading this, and I remember thinking very loudly and clearly to myself, oh, I have a bad feeling about this. And that just sort of repeated on a chant in my head throughout the second half of this book. And boy, was I right about that bad feeling. This book, in the last 100 pages, with attempting to not give any spoilers, this book within the last 100 pages just twists your brain up into a pretzel. And then on the last 2 pages, like literally, this, why so many pages? Like, this is the last page. Like, on this page, the author takes the brain of yours that he has twisted up into a pretzel and smacks you with it. I had like 9 different theories of where this book was going throughout a 200-page span of reading, and I was completely wrong with all of them. Which you might think is like blindsiding you with a twist ending that doesn't make sense, but was it confusing? Yes. Do I think I know what happened? Yes. Was all the foreshadowing there now that I looked back on it? Yes. Holy... Lost for words much? Blew my mind and then punched me in the face. That is my very articulate review of I'm Thinking of Ending Things by Ian Reid. Okay, so how do I feel about horror? Now that I have actually read genuine horror that is meant to be horror, in the form of novels, for the first time. I am unsettled and slightly confused. Sour Candy didn't feel like all that unusual of a read for me, even though I've never really read something like that. I feel like it reminded me so much of a lot of horror movie trailers, or the one horror movie that I have seen, enough that I was just like, yeah, this is good, but I have no opinions really that are different now because of this book. In the House of the Dark of the Woods was a fever dream, and I don't know what to say about it. It was very unsettling, but at the same time, I really loved the twist on fantasy that it did, and it's getting my brain thinking about, like, should I write a dark fantasy? Because was this book disturbing? Yes. Could I feasibly think of a storyline and imagery that was just as disturbing? Probably? I Am Thinking of Ending Things was definitely the book that turned me upside down and hit me with my own brain. I know that technically that counts as a thriller, but I want to read more by that author, and if I can find more books like that, I would be very, very happy. I guess the one thing I've definitely learned is I'm not all that into like occult horror, which is what Sour Candy is, and I'm into the weird crap, like In the House in the Dark of the Woods. Sort of, I guess. And also, I'm Thinking of Ending Things, which, as long as it weirds me out and surprises the hell out of me at the end, I'm good with it. So that's my thoughts on horror. Let me know if you enjoy reading horror books or not, and what types of horror books you do like, because obviously some of these were very different from what I thought horror was. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please remember to hit that subscribe button and ding the little notification bell, and if you give my channel a big thumbs up, it really helps me out. My short story collection, All the Wood She Watches Over, is available in paperback and ebook right now. You can get a copy. There's some stuff in here that's actually pretty weird. Not horror, but weird. Pretty awesome if I do say so myself. I upload videos on Mondays or Fridays, sometimes both days. NaNoWriMo is coming, it is almost upon us, it is nearly here, and I will see y'all in the next video. Bye!